Picture this. You're up against the Rally X, the most difficult duel of your life. You're on attempt number 20, but this time you finally had a clean race stocked up with a full gauge of nitrous. You skip him for the final time and hit that N2O with all your might, flying down the tunnel, your genius race plan finally working. Hallelujah! You get to the final stretch and he skips you. What? All of that hard work, that genius planning, that perfecto execution, just to once again place in second against all laws of physics. And that is the magic of getting Ridge Racer 3D'd. A supernatural phenomenon even greater than that of being Mario Karted, because this don't require no RNG. No, this was programmed into the game. You were meant to lose that duel. Do the exact same thing over and over again, and the outcome will be the same. Rally X is simply unbeatable. Unless you know how to beat him. Hello everyone, it's Sugar Belle here, back with another commentary video. In this one, I'll be exposing the AI behind Ridge Racer 3D. Behind the Event 47 tab lies the Rally X duel, where the aim is to race and win against the Rally X twice in order to unlock the car for yourself and progress to the final event of the game. And those of you who are familiar with this game, all 116,000 of you, can definitely agree that this duel is one of, if not the most difficult event to complete in the game, mainly due to how broken it is. But not to fear, because I'm about to put this thing on Fraud Watch and show you all why the Rally X duel ain't nothing. This here is the Aj Motors Profity, and this is its top speed. If we compare it to that of the Namco new Rally X, we can see that there's a clear mismatch, especially when you consider that I previously struggled with the Namco Pac-Man, whose top speed is much closer. As you are about to see, this won't matter one bit. And to prove it even more, I will not be rocket starting, and I will not be using a single dose of nitrous at all. All thanks to those values on the side of the screen, which I'll be explaining as the race goes on, but it's all pretty plain and simple. Right away, you can see a few value changes, especially at the top. The important ones to note are 4, signaling for the CPU to slow down, 3, signaling for it to cruise behind and match my speed, and 5, signaling for it to speed up and whiz right past me. Once this is done, it'll switch back to 2, signaling for it to travel back at regular speed before repeating the cycle again. The middle value shows how many times this speed up or rubber banding has occurred, which can only be triggered after skipping the CPU driver. So the more you do it, the more it will appreciate in value. That brings us on to the value on the bottom. This value translates to the maximum number of times the CPU driver it is assigned to can perform a rubber band. Once it's been reached, the rubber banding will stop, and thus the cheating will cease to continue. So to put it simple, my goal for this duel is to overtake Rally X a set amount of times before the finish in order to completely take him out of the race, which will in turn give me an easy victory and less suffering. As you can see here, my opponent has started using his own nitrous to give him a speed boost. This should make him significantly faster than me, but due to how the game was programmed, that is fortunately not the case. It's important to note that the CPU drivers have set areas for each event showing where exactly they'll use their nitrous and what type. So every time you battle Rally X in this duel, he'll always hit a single nitrous at that point on the first lap and on the third. It's set to a different point on the second lap. Also, a little extra note, single nitrous is supposed to be orange in color, but due to a texturing issue that was never fixed, it always appears as a green double nitrous for the CPU Rally X driver, but rest assured, he is using a single. And now here's the point where he uses single nitrous on the second lap. And despite a little bit of a slip-up that I made, as long as I don't let him get too far ahead of me, everything should be okie dokie. If he does end up getting too far ahead of you, he'll continue to cruise ahead without slowing down, requiring you to use your nitrous in order to make that ground back up. But as for me, this still remains a nitrousless run. We're now on to the third lap, and you can now see that Rally X has reached his maximum amount of rubber bands. This is exactly what we want. His behavior will begin to change from this point on. As you can see now when I overtake him, the top goes from a 3 to a 6 instead of a 3 to a 5. This 6 is basically the CPU driver in an exhausted mode. For Rally X's case, he'll begin to trail behind me at a certain speed, but since his car is way faster than mine, he'll gradually catch up. The instant he goes ahead of me, he immediately slows down again. There are two types of behaviors when a CPU driver hits a 6. The first and most common is to instantly slow way down until they are completely out of sight on your minimap. And the second is to trail behind you the whole way until the end of the race, which applies to the frontmost CPU racer. And since Rally X is the only racer I'm up against, he by default will always exhibit the second behavior. So picture this once again. You're up against the Rally X, the most difficult duel of all time. This time you zip through the tunnel with a gauge full of nitrous that you are not going to use. You drift around the final corner and Rally X hits his nitrous. He passes you for a split second, then slows right down, giving you lots of leeway and a clear path to Victory Road. First place in 3:15. Now I want y'all to keep this time in mind because we are not done exposing yet. Nope, this is only the first part. The next part will show why speed matters very little in this game. As if the profity keeping up with the fastest car in the game wasn't enough, I decided to challenge myself by beating the second Rally X duel using the same method, but in the Tarazi Wild Gang instead. This car boasts a whopping 318 kilometers per hour top speed, which is a staggering 51 lower than the Rally X's 369. Nice. Once again, no rocket starts to begin with, and no use of nitrous at any point. As you can tell by the speedometer, we are almost always going to be below 318, and yet the Rally X always seems to be within reach. This is because the CPU racers are programmed to adapt to the speed of the player all the time. Heck, you could mod this car's top speed down to 200 and the CPU will still adapt to it, becoming just as slow as you no matter what. But in the same way, you could mod it to give it a top speed of 500 and they'd also adapt to that, joining you in being faster than the speed of light. Yup, this game really takes speed is relative to a whole new level. One thing I really admire about the Wild Gang is that even though it may be the slowest out of its buddies, it makes up for it with its beautiful design, and most importantly, its lightweight and aerodynamics. Because of this, when you slipstream with it, you get a massive speed boost. Like, holy noodle apple strudel on a kitten caboodle, isn't that just awesome? And the same principle applies for all lightweight cars in this game, including the ever-so-perfect Rally X, which, if you haven't seen the older videos on this channel or just didn't catch on, is my undisputed favorite car in Ridge Racer 3D. So it kinda hurts me to be using it as a test subject and embarrassing it like this in front of hundreds, but it's all in good spirit. This here's an interesting case. I overtook Rally X at the point where he hits his nitrous, making him boost past me without activating the rubber band. So that did put me a bit behind schedule, making things more difficult. As an extra stinger, a few parameters in this race in the duel have been increased or added from the first one, including the CPU driver's tendency to block me every now and again. It's a real bozo move, except when I do it. But it shouldn't be a biggie as long as you're ahead of him on the very final stretch, as he will try to block you during the end stages of the race, making winning pretty much impossible. I'll tell you now, This challenge was no trot in the park because even though the Rally X was heavily adapting to my speed, the speed difference between our vehicles left it cruising ahead a bit longer than it was in the first race. So the little difference that speed makes in this game is that it is a bit more difficult to overtake the opponent that set amount of times, and you will have to race with that extra bit of cleanliness. But also keep in mind that I'm using a machine with significantly lower speed. So even if you use any other non-special machine, you should be able to take Rally X without breaking too much of a sweat. We cut it close. All necessary conditions have been satisfied. Rally X will boost at this point, but don't worry, he's a good boy. He won't stay ahead for long. And that is how you take him down. Sugar Belle style. First place with a 322. Arguably the most difficult duel in Ridge Racer history made absolute light work. As long as you race cleanly, it should take you way less attempts than if you were to race how one normally would, which is the last thing that I'm about to show today. Last up, we got the Evolver, which is seen as the go-to in terms of the non-special category 1 machines. Boasting a greater top speed and nitrous charging speed than the others, this one is guaranteed to finish the race in a much faster time. However, what I'm about to show you may just blow your mind. Pure heckery right away, as you can see that any form of rocket starting will lead to Rally X going ultra instinct and whizzing away from existence, already making things a lot harder. So I use a bit of nitrous in order to make up that ground and get back in the race. It took a while, but we finally get our first skip and first rubber band of the race. It happens pretty late on, but it's still very much possible to get to 12 before the end at this stage. Now observe what happens here. I use my nitrous while Rally X is in the rubber banding state, and he just magically keeps up with me, which ends up in him cutting off my line and a major slip up. He gets quite the distance ahead, so I once again have to use some nitrous to catch up. After a dose of the double, I finally get within touching distance, and that leads to me finally getting another overtake. Notice how we're on the second lap and only got 3 overtakes in total, while in the other races I'd usually have about 4, 5, 6 at this point. The speed adaptation that these bot racers exhibit translates through just about anything you do in the race. When you crash and slow down, the chances are that they will slow down too. And when you use your nitrous, all of a sudden it's their nitrous too. Ha! All of this equality prop is bringing back some memories. Now something pretty odd happens here that I don't fully understand. As I use my double nitrous and skip Rally X, the rubber band amount goes up to 8 as normal. But once it stops, his state goes from a 3 back to a 5, increasing the rubber banding amount again, despite only being overtaken once. It'll be amazing if one day something like this could be exploited and used to get the rubber banding value to the max much quicker than currently possible. Now, it may not have been the cleanest, but it's safe to say that this race has been done with great speed. And as I turn the final corner, I hit him with a triple nitrous going as fast as possible. But since Rally X never reached his rubber banding limit, he's able to pull it off again, resulting in a last-minute skip and a heartbreaking second-place finish for me. Race 3 ends with a total time of 3:02, our fastest today, and yet it's the only one that didn't end in a victory. So not only have we learned that the Rally X duel ain't really all that, but we've also found out how to easily beat him while decoding the AI of this truly amazing hidden gem of a game. I hope this video was of great use to you. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Take care and peace.